This is Season 3, Episode 5 of The Horse Show on Wisp Sports Radio. I'm Chris Stafford, and at Wisp Sports, we believe that women in sport deserve equal coverage. The Horse Show features exclusive interviews with riders and trainers from around the world. Hello and welcome to the program. Some of you may know that my background is in equestrian sport, and WISP was founded actually on the equestrian podcasts, which I've been doing now for almost 10 years. One of the things I enjoyed doing is discovering new talent, riders who are starting to make their mark, perhaps achieve a career best result or make their team debut. And last week at the Upperville Horse Show in Virginia, which is actually the oldest horse show in the country, a young woman from Ohio caught the attention of the crowd when she won the $216,000 Upperville Jumper Classic CSI4 star after an 8-horse jump-off. And this was Ali Wolff's first international Grand Prix victory. She beat some of the top riders in the sport to make it back-to-back Grand Prix wins, having just come from the Devon Horse Show in Pennsylvania, where she won the $50,000 Jet Run Devon Welcome Stakes. The Ohio-based rider was a gold medalist in the North American Junior and Young Rider Championships, and as a senior rider, she was a member of the Winning Nations Cup team in Mexico recently, and she's also had some top results in Europe and the US. Her Grand Prix partner in Devon and Upperville was the 13-year-old Holsteiner gelding Casall. And Ali will tell us about their relationship and the team behind her, as well as her plans for the business and future goals. I caught up with Ali after she arrived back at her training base in Columbus, Ohio. I think glad to be home for a little while, Ali, after your whirlwind few weeks. But first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this is fun because suddenly you're making news headlines everywhere you go now. 2 wins, Devon and then on to Upperville, a career best. How does it feel now you've caught your breath and got home?
I mean, it feels amazing. The hardest part, I think, we kind of encountered was our win in Upperville on a Sunday. So as soon as we, hugged and hurrahed, we had to go hurry and pack. So, it kind of, we never really got the chance to really sit down and kind of just like revel in this win. So we just actually had a team dinner last night, and I was able to finally get my girls to calm down and thank them for all that done. And so, yeah, finally it's kind of a little bit sinking in now.
Well, when you get to the point where you are in your career, obviously you've been doing this for a while, you've got a great partnership with him, and then you actually peak there. That was a really scintillating round, we have to say, at Upperville, when you came in last of the 8-horse jump-off there, and, I mean, just blew everybody away. But you started off, I mean, you were coming through the start there like, this is it. I'm going for this. There wasn't a second or hundreds of a second lost. He just flies and he tucks up. I mean, he's just a sight to see when he's, full throttle, isn't he?
Yes. I think the benefit we may have against some other competitors is that, our history, we've been together for 6 years. So he kind of knows me maybe almost better than I know myself. So when I ask him to do things a little out of his comfort zone, no questions asked, he'll go do it for me, and he trusts me completely. And, I think that's how we were able to get away with the long one to the first fence, and then without him even getting worried after that. It just kind of proves how well we know each other inside and out.
Yeah, you totally did. I mean, you were absolutely in sync that day. A fantastic win. And as I said, right on the back of that win over in Devon. So a busy few weeks for you. But let's talk about that partnership with him, because really is peaking now, isn't it? He's a Holsteiner, isn't he? And you've had him, you said, 6 years. Where did the relationship begin?
It was actually a little bit ironic and a little bit of an accident. We were, my long-term trainer, Michelle Grubb, who I've probably been training with for over 15 years. We've lost count at this point. But she and I went to Europe to look for some young horses, and we found a bunch. None we really fell in love with, but we wanted to go watch the Lumen Horse Show. And over there, we ran into a good friend of ours, Stevie Mackin, and he goes, it was raining that day. We weren't having that much fun. And he said, you know what, why don't we just go over and sit on this one I've been looking at? And So, we had a flight to catch, I think, probably the next day. So we're like, sure, why not? We have nothing else to do. So we head over, and it was a horse owned by Enda Carroll and Stefan. And so we just hop on it. I immediately like it. He's just a very great, easygoing type, but not without his quirks. But, he was very much, I thought, the American style and an easy sales horse. And that was kind of my goal, to go over there and find my first sales horse to really kickstart my business. And ever since we sat on him, I just kind of fell in love with him and his quirks. And I guess the rest is history.
You have to tell us what his quirks are.
Well, I always joke about this because the first day he arrived, he came straight to a horse show in Kentucky. And I was so excited to see him that it was a Monday, and I got him out to hand walk him. And I was hand walking him around the horse show, and he starts to see some tractors, and it just rained, so it had cooled off. And he starts getting a little fresh, and then he starts trotting laps around me, and then I start to think, oh boy, this is not going to go well. I'm just going to go put you back. And as soon as we start heading down one of the bigger hills in Kentucky, he starts trotting sideways next to me, and next thing I know, he's trotting backwards down the hill. And he rips the lead rope out of my hands and just takes off at a full gallop across the concrete and cement, flies around a corner, skids around a corner, and I just start sprinting, yelling heads up, and I'm just thinking, oh God, I just got this horse, and here we go. I'm just now going to injure. So, yeah, finally someone caught him in another paddock, and that's kind of our first meeting, I guess. So he's just a little bit, especially when he was younger, he was always a little funny like that. You never kind of really knew what he was thinking, and he could change just like that. And he hated wash racks. He would almost run again backwards with me if we tried to put him in a wash rack. So it was just those little funky quirks that we kind of had to get used to that I've seen a little bit with a few other Casalls. So, I think that was also what makes him so great. He's kind of calmed down a little bit, but also we know what to predict.
You seriously can't be thinking this is a sales horse now, can you, Ali? Or is that what it's about?
Yeah, I think he's probably surpassed that at this point. We had an older horse, kind of when Casall turned 8-ish, we had an older horse that was kind of slowing down a little bit, and I just needed to keep myself in the rankings and keep myself competing at that level. So we kind of pushed him a little bit early, just to kind of see what he had in him. And as soon as we kept pushing him, he just kept fighting for us. And one thing led to another, and I think it was when he jumped his first $1 million class. I think he was 8 or 9. He jumped with one down and ended up, I think, 6th place. So I think at that point was when we kind of realized we had a little bit more than we thought. And yeah, from then on, he kept just surpassing our expectations.
Yeah, and really he's one of those horses of a lifetime right now at this point, I would imagine. And you have other horses we want to talk about, Ali, but let's just tell your story and rewind a little bit, because you came up through the young rider rankings, didn't you? And gold medalist there. We should give you a mention for that, obviously, because that really was a fantastic start to launching your then professional career. But where did it all begin? Let's go back to, when you first decided horses were the life for you. Does this come from family? Were you family into horses?
Every time we get together and think about this, nobody really can come up with the exact conclusion. My parents never really rode. Nobody really in my family rides. So we believe it was from just going to fairs, little carnivals, and getting on those pony rides that I drugged them to every single time. And then from there, I think I kind of just made them find me a barn for lessons, and we found this Western barn, which was the closest barn to us at the time, and I would just bring my little English saddle, and they would just kind of give me up-down lessons, and from there it just kind of progressed. We found another local barn, and then from there she hooked me up with Ann Kaczynski and George, and that's kind of how I got started into, the bigger shows and the bigger stuff.
Right. Well, you had a good start there then with Ann Kaczynski and George Morris to kick you off into, making it a serious career. But what age were you when you actually first started riding?
I think I was about 4 or 5 when I first started taking lessons. And then I got my first saddle, I think, when I was 7, and then, goes from there.
So at what point then, did you go to college, and at what point did you say to your parents, hey, I want to do this professionally?
I think there was probably not very little doubt that I was going to do this professionally. So with my parents as well. Excuse me. But, they were kind of going through this whole process as I was. Nobody's been down this road before, and it was a little bit of a shell shock to kind of see what this sport requires of someone, even their parents. So, I'm not a single child. I have 3 other sisters. So we kind of all went through this together, and they were 100% supportive and backed me. But they always, kept coming back to me saying, is this really what you want to do? Is this really what you want to do? And every time I kept saying yes. And then I think it was probably right around college, maybe getting out of college, that they gave me 2 years to kind of, again, reassess, is this my actual career path? Is this really where I see myself for the rest of my life? And, I just kept trying to picture my life without horses, or what I would be doing, or sitting at a desk, and just none of that really made me happy, and I just could not see myself without horses. So eventually that's kind of where I decided to go pro and really go all in.
Well, it's interesting you've got sisters there. Typically, other sisters get involved with ponies, and, it becomes contagious. What about your siblings? Did they have an interest in it at all, in horses?
Not really. I made I'm the youngest, so I made the second youngest ride horses and take some lessons with me when I was younger, but she didn't like it, and, our lessons just ended up being us laughing about each other, mainly me about her. But we've always been kind of like an athletic family. We've always done outside sports, so she kind of stopped the whole riding thing, and she said she preferred ground sports. And so she went on to play a bunch of sports, and I tried to play a bunch of sports as well, and just balance that whole ordeal. But again, nobody really picked up the love of horses. I think the only person in our more extended family is my cousin, and she actually does 3-day eventing. So just this past year, I competed at that 3-day eventing show jumping invitational, and she was there doing the 3-day eventing. So that was actually really a blast to go see her, and she was able to see me. So that was the first.
We have to give her a shout out. What's her name?
Yeah, Ellie McPhail.
Oh, Ellie's your cousin. How interesting. Yeah. What a small world.
Very.
Yeah, so where did you compete together? What event was it?
It was this past 3-day, the Rolex 3-day eventing in Lexington, Kentucky. But before that, I'd never ever seen her ride, so this was the first.
So you're both there in the Kentucky Horse Park. How special was that? So let's talk about your family. What are their names and your parents, and what do they do? Let's give us a little bit of background of what the family unit, because you grew up in Columbus, Ohio, right, where you still live and work and train from.
Yeah, so my dad, John Wolff, we always, were teased at a young age because none of us kids really exactly knew what he did. He was just more of a serial entrepreneur, so he would buy and sell a lot of companies. He'd be on a lot of boards. So, one time somebody told me that there was a John Wolff that owned the Columbus Dispatch and a local newspaper here. So I said, oh, yeah, that's my dad. That was not him. And my mother, actually, she runs the family company. She's the 3rd generation to do so. They started in plastics and molding and extrusion. One of their claim to fame was kind of being the first to manufacture the hula hoop. So that's where we kind of.
What's your mum's name?
Tanny Crane.
Let's hear about your sisters, because there's obviously sport throughout the family.
Yeah, we've always been pretty athletic, I guess. Very competitive. Maybe that's what drives us. But my sister, Ali Wolff, she dabbled in anything from soccer to lacrosse to basketball. She really focused on soccer and lacrosse is also what I focused on. And then we have 2 older, really half-sisters, but, we just consider them our full sisters. And one is living out in Oregon, so we don't see her as much, but she she loves it out there, and she just works all the time. So we barely get to see her. But our other sister actually just lives about 20 minutes down the road from us now. So, and she has 2 children, so we get to see her and her kids a lot, which is very exciting for us, especially my parents. So we're very much a family unit. We believe in family, and anytime we can get together, it's the same way for when they support me. We had a local horse show here, the New Albany Classic, an invitational that was raised money for the Coalition for Family Violence here in Columbus, run by Abigail Wexner. And they all made shirts for me, and they wore their shirts. Our whole family would always come out and support me. So, yeah, that's a little bit about our family and how well we're connected with each other.
Oh, that's fabulous, and great support network that you've got there. Did they come to Devon or Upperville to see these wins?
No, they were dying to. They wanted to come to either or horse show. They kind of joked that they're my bad luck charm, just because sometimes I don't have the best shows with them there. But, I mean, there have been other shows that we've been great together. But, no, they actually had to go support their grandson. He was in a geography bee, so, that was another side of the family that they had to go support, and that was fine.
I'm curious now, you've got a cousin in eventing. Why was it always show jumping for you then, Ali?
That's a good question. I guess I never really sat down to think about why show jumping or why not another discipline. But I think just from a young age, I just saw horses jumping, and maybe it was the New Albany Classic. But even from my first Western barn, I made them set up little cross rails or little poles, and I mean that's exactly what I always wanted to do, and I've never wavered from that. I've taken lessons in polo and loved that, but that's not my calling. And then I've done a little barrel racing here and there just for charity or something, but again, that's not my calling.
You mentioned, of course, Ann Kosinski and George Morris, but who were your the riders that you looked up to when you were emerging as a rider yourself? Who were your heroes?
For sure, when I was really young, I looked up to Ann. I was fortunate enough to, be able to go to the horse shows with her and go to the rings with her, and I would just follow Hoffy around, and we would be able to sit by the in-gate and watch her go and cheer for her. So right away, when your trainer is also a rider, that's a heavy influence on you. And then again, when I switched to George, we always got to go see Chris compete and Royal Caliber. But then when I got older, I saw Beezy and McLean, and for sure Beezy, she's so quiet on a horse, and she just, you don't see what she's doing, but she's doing so much. And so I think that group of people, the ones I got to grow up with and got to see firsthand, were really those that affected me.
Well, now you've had some international experience. You've competed in Europe. You competed on a Nations Cup team now. So gold medals. You're collecting gold medals, obviously young riders, and now Nations Cups. And you've got, 3 horses currently in training at international level. Let's talk about the barn and who's in there and what you're looking forward to this year, Ali. Let's give us a picture of your 2018 season to come.
Yeah, so we're a little horse shy at the moment. It's kind of due to the transition of going from an amateur, where my parents would support me and we would find amateur horses, compete in those classes. And then as soon as I switched to professional, it became more of a business and a business strategy. And, overhead can't be high, but you need the horses to compete with to stay relevant. So it's really been a challenge for sure, but also just also a balance and kind of figuring out where my professional career is going to take me. So right now, the horses we've been able to hold on to were for sure Casall. He's really started my career and, created it and kept it running. So he's there. He's 13. He's the head of the barn. He pretty much knows it. Then next to him is Curie. And Curie is hopefully going to fulfill some of his shoes, take the pressure off him a little bit. Curie is 11 years old. We also found him through Enda. So we're longtime good partners and friends with Enda. And he is almost to that point where he can compete against Casall, but not quite there in the jump-offs yet. And then probably our third string at the moment is actually owned by Double H, so Casey Harrison and Quentin Judge. And they graciously let me compete on this horse. We kind of partnered together, I think last December. They needed a rider for him to try and sell, and we kind of clicked right away. And so I've been competing with him in Florida. His name is Exotic Cité. He's an 8-year-old Belgian warm blood. And so far, I mean, he's just shown that he can be anything and everything. So, you know, we're going to try and, you know, keep him a little bit restricted and just make sure he doesn't peak too soon and take our times, because we think he's going to be something pretty special. But he is a sales horse, so our main objective with him is, you know, to sell him. And after that, we have a young, it kind of jumps in the age ranks, and we have a young 6-year-old we partnered with our new client, Pam Wildman. She's from the Boston area. We found her through our vet, and she's just been amazing. She brought in her homebred 6-year-old. She bred at the same farm that we've been breeding ours, our vet Brendan Furlong. And she brought this young horse in just to start its training and show jumping career with us in Florida. And she's just been the greatest. We just adore her, and her horse is adorable. She's the type of client, you know, that doesn't care about trying to sell or anything like that. She just only cares about the horse and what's right for the horse. So we couldn't have been luckier to have found her. And then from there, we have actually our first homebred. Again, what I just said, we bred our first couple of horses at Brendan Furlong's farm from my great mare that won the North American Young Riders. So this is the first of her babies. His name is Nico, and he's 5 years old, and he's out of Lancaster. So kind of this is the first of our very young string to come, hopefully. So again, we're a little horse shy and missing a few ages and everything, but hopefully we'll catch up. We have 2 mares that are out a little bit right now with injury that are on their way back right now, and hopefully they'll join our string, usually in the 1.45, 1.50 range. So that'll fill a few gaps, but that's it for the moment here at Ali Wolff LLC.
And you told me earlier that you and your boyfriend are really starting up the business here, and obviously finding new owners is part of it. How big do you want your business to be then, Ali? I mean, what's your ideal goals now as a professional?
Yeah, that's still what I think we're trying to figure out at the moment. You know, we each have goals, and we try and figure out which ones we can merge with each other. You know, he comes from background from Jeffrey Wells. He worked for Jeffrey for over 10 years, and before that, Joe Fargus. So he's been on a similar path than me. He's really focused on, you know, when Jeffrey had Abigail Wexner's horses, and, you know, he would focus on the younger ones and buying and selling and developing. And he's a great hunter rider. You know, he's done the eck, he's done it all. So I think he would be a great asset to our team. I've never done the equitation, actually. I've never been through the equitation championships, and I've never really done hunters. So, you know, that's something that I would really look for and need in my repertoire. So to look at it from like a goal standpoint, I guess, going very forwards into the future, obviously my future goals would be, you know, to keep myself current in the rankings and current in the show jumping ring, and especially at that Grand Prix level. And with that in mind, you know, look forward for the next couple of games. I would love to make an Olympic team or 2 or 3, but just to stay kind of representing the U.S. is my ultimate main goal. And then rewinding from there, you know, how can we make that happen while still training? I do enjoy the training aspect. It is really fun to see kids kind of flourish or come together with their horses. So we have a few clients right now, and that's really fun. I think we're just looking to expand, take on, you know, more of the serious client, the client that's willing to travel, wants to do it all, you know, wants to give it their all, try and get to the top of the sport with us. So I think that's really our main goal. But, you know, from there, we have to create what we can create at the moment. So we're just trying to kind of put roots down in Columbus, Ohio. I've been here my entire life, but I've never really spent a lot of time here. So we're just kind of going to local shows. You know, there's one 15 minutes down the road from us that has the World Cup qualifier this year, the Johnstown show at Brave Horse. So that is an amazing asset for us. Beautiful footing, beautiful facility. And then an hour away from us is the World Equestrian Center. And then Chagrin is 2 from us, 2 hours. And so I think it's really going to be a developing market here. It's still young and it's going to take its time, but we're hoping to kind of jump in at the right moment and kind of see what we can make here first.
Well, it sounds like, a very exciting point in your career then. You're just that growth stage for the business and, getting yourself well established, as you say, getting some consistency with your performances too, and people are starting to pay attention now, clearly. But we have to give a shout out to your boyfriend. What's his name?
His name is Ed Copeland. He is the behind-the-scenes organizer, rider, keeps my life running smoothly, and needs mentioned.
Absolutely. Well, good for Ed. I'm curious though, when you look at your career now so far, Ali, and what you've achieved coming up through the young rider rankings as you have, what you would consider to be your strengths and weaknesses now?
Yeah, I would say my strengths, I guess let's work backwards. Let's find my weaknesses. I am a soft personality. I think especially in the training aspect or trying to create a business, I need someone maybe with a stronger go-getter mentality or personality. So maybe that's, I would maybe say my weakness. Some people are really out there and fighting for it. And while I am, I'm not the one to step over people's shoes or over bounds, or I am a little bit quieter in that aspect. And so Michelle, my trainer, always yells at me and tells me to, be stronger, fight harder. And so I guess maybe that's one of them. I would say my strengths, I'm always around the horses a lot, not just the riding. I'm there, I'm helping them muck out. I drive the truck and trailer. So I like to get to know the horses inside and out, and not just when I ride them. I think also that strength plays that while I may not have a big string at the time, I am able to focus, I guess, on my horses more specifically, get to know them, their characters. And I think that's really important. Whenever I can jump on and curry them and just finding, places maybe they're sore, checking out their legs. That's a huge, huge thing for me. And that's what my manager, Mary Gleer, does so amazing. She can just look at a horse and say, oh, it doesn't look right today, or check out a leg and say, oh, there may be some minor swelling that really, maybe not other people might catch until it's too late. So, I try and kind of take it back and rewind and go back into the barn, back into the stall door. So I'd say maybe that's one of my strengths.
Well, it sounds a lot like you're really hands-on, very involved, and obviously enjoying every aspect of it. And you said you're enjoying the teaching too.
Yes. I was always very nervous, again, because I'm a little soft-spoken. I kind of thought, I feel like I'm young, and if I teach older people, why would they want to listen? But everybody has been super receptive. I've had a lot of friends come up and want lessons. And, right now we're training an older friend of ours in the low adult hunters, and we're having a blast. And then we have a kid that's 14 that really loves the sport. And so we're having a great time with him too. And so it has turned into something actually that I really do love. I think if I can keep teaching, that would be great. I just, I don't really want to stay home all the time and teach. So I just really need to find that balance of when I get a lot of customers, I just need to make sure they are willing to travel or are willing to let me travel. So that's, I kind of think, our next obstacle to overcome.
Well, it does sound like a very exciting point in your career, Ali, and things are just only going to get better here. You're putting in all the hard work, it seems. And I'm curious, though, with being so hands-on, do you ever have time for fun? What is your idea of, fun that's not related to horses?
Yeah, it comes very rarely. But, I think fun for me is, when we're home and able to relax. Ed is so great at kind of taking me out of the horse world, especially in Florida when you're living there and you're showing for those 12 weeks plus. He's great at every Monday kind of taking me out of Wellington, whether I want to or not, and just making day trips, night trips, just kind of, getting your mind out of the horses. It gets very frustrating, and when you're around the horses 24/7 and maybe things aren't going right. So it's really important for us to take a step back. But then also when I get home, I always have a great time, getting together with our family, doing something with the family, with my niece and nephew. So I think really for me, maybe my parents have instilled it in me, but getting together for like family time is actually really fun for me. So,
what do you most value about being involved in sport?
I really love that it teaches you self-discipline. It teaches you time management, and I think it really makes you focus on what you really want to, maybe not do with your life, but where do you see yourself headed? What type of person do you want to be? I think it's what drove me to really stay focused and concentrated when I was younger. Some people may go out to parties or whatever, but for me, I thought, well, I have an early lesson tomorrow, or I have to be at a horse show. So I would, rather go to the horse show and perform well than just going to this one party one night. So I think it teaches a lot, especially about you as a person and your personality and what you're kind of made of.
Well, you've got big goals, big aspirations, a flourishing business there in Columbus, Ohio. We are looking forward to following your career, Ali. And again, congratulations on winning both Devon and the Upperville Grand Prix. Tremendous results for you both there. And the very best of luck with the rest of your career. And thank you for taking the time to come on the program and share your life with us.
Of course, this was fantastic. Thank you for having me.
And my thanks again to Ali. You can find her on social media by following the links in the show notes accompanying this episode at wispsports.com. Just go to the Listen tab and look for The Horse Show. And, of course, there are many more conversations from the world of women's sports right there on the website. We have now over 30 shows, and we've become the world's largest podcast network for women's sports. So there's pretty much something for everybody there, and we continue to grow thanks to your support. And if you enjoy what we do here at Wisp Sports, do leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Every little bit helps us as we continue to spread the voice of women in sport. And if horse sports is your thing, then this September, from the 10th to the 13th in Tryon, North Carolina, the World Equestrian Games will be taking place. That's 7 disciplines over 2 weeks. And I'll be there throughout the competition to bring you exclusive coverage right here on The Horse Show on Wisp Sports Radio. It's going to be great fun. We'll be doing Facebook Live sessions with some of the riders, and we'll be doing regular podcasts too. So be sure to join me this fall in Tryon, North Carolina for the World Equestrian Games. In the meantime, do follow us on social media. We love it if you share and tag us on any of the social media platforms. Just look for Wisp Sports. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about what we do here at Wisp Sports and for women in sport generally, then do post your comments on either our Facebook page at Wisp Sports or drop us a line to info@Wisp Sports. We'd love to hear from you. Until the next time, thanks for listening and supporting women in sport everywhere.